This is a big episode. I don't mean big as in a long episode. I mean big as in it's a very big deal because it might be the last one ever. Welcome back to Rebel Movement Podcast. My name is Billy. My pronouns are they, them, or she, her. I'm glad you're here. I had a really hard time with this decision, to be honest with you. And it really came down to the fact that it's just not taken off as I thought it would, as I hoped it would, I guess. And that it's not something I'm really able to make money off of. And it does take quite a lot of time. And part of the fact that I'm not really making money on it means that I don't have the time or the resources to make this as good as it could be. If I had the resources and the time or the money, if it was making more profit, I feel like I could put more time into it, but I just am spread a little bit thin. And this podcast is the thing that currently makes the most sense to stop for now. So I like to be as transparent, or what's the word, authentic as possible. And I feel like if I'm saying I'm quitting and then I come back, it might feel weird, but also I'll just say most likely this podcast is done forever. That's sad, but if by some miracle something changes, I'm sorry, I have the hiccups. Hopefully you can't hear them. If by some miracle something changes in terms of, I don't know, funding or listens or something, I might consider coming back. I think the more likely outcome is that maybe I'll try again another time with a different podcast, maybe a different topic, who knows. But I, for now, really want to focus on the areas that are going well and are helping me to grow my business. And I tried this and I'm glad that I did. I've learned a lot, but for now we're gonna stop. I'm gonna keep the episodes up so that you still have them all to refer back to. You have them as resources. I'm not taking that away, so they'll be up, don't worry. And you can still reach out to me if you have any questions about any of the topics. If you want to, I don't know, have a conversation, you can find me on Instagram is where I'm more likely to talk, like to have an actual conversation, because I check that the most. It's at Move with Billy. But if you want to stay in touch with me or stay kind of up to date with my current events or what's currently going on, you can follow me on Instagram, as I said, and subscribe to my newsletter. The link is in the show notes. And I put out a newsletter every week, and you'll hear of events. And if I do a new podcast, I'll put it in there as well. I've learned a lot doing this podcast. I'm incredibly lucky to have been able to have these really amazing conversations that have honestly changed my life over the last however many years this has been. I'm so grateful to Jordan, who helped me to start this podcast. I am grateful for all of you for listening. I'm grateful for every single one of our guests. And I'm grateful for everyone who has encouraged me throughout this process. I think if I were to do this again, one thing I would do better is, well, trying a little harder to not say and I think, how do I say this? So the vulnerable answer here is that I've been working through some things personally that I think would really have impacted how I show up in this podcast if I had done them sooner, but I wasn't ready to do them sooner. As many of you know, and you know if you listen to any of the trauma related episodes, I grew up in an emotionally abusive household. And if you've been around, you might also know that it's in the last couple of years, I've also come to remember that it was also a sexually abusive household. Or you may also remember that I'm recovering from childhood sexual abuse. And I think one thing I'm uncovering within therapy is how I was trained by almost every adult that I was really like close to, or some of the, you say main ones? Anyway, some of the, we'll just say main adults in my life. I was basically trained to not trust my own expertise, my knowledge, my own memories, my own value, my own perspectives. And I think in a lot of ways, I've unpacked a lot of that over the last few years, but I've just honestly, just in the last month, had this realization in a very big way and how that shows up within other spaces. It's almost like without realizing it, I give people that I'm talking to an out just in case I don't make sense. Like I'm laying down emergency abort protocols when it's not needed, instead of trusting that I know what I'm saying, or trusting that if they don't know what I'm saying, they will ask. And it shows up in a little bit of hesitancy to show up in a bold way. And I think that it comes up sometimes within the podcast, sometimes within other areas of my life. And it's definitely, I've changed and grown a lot over the years. If you've been around since I started my business, I'm much more confident saying some bolder things, but I still, in smaller ways, have these little things that come up that are almost accidentally undermining what I'm saying. One of those might be that might also come up because I have ADHD and sometimes I forget what I'm saying in the middle of the sentence. I actually got my first bad review this or last month, which was totally merited, but I was saying a lot and something about uh something about the audio quality. So I'm curious if they listened to the beginning episodes before I got a new mic and everything. So there's some things I would do differently, but really, if I think about it, we can't go back and change who we used to be. We can't go back in time. And I think my priority when I started this podcast and continued it was to show up as much myself as I could. And I think I did that. I think I personally prefer podcasts that are more real, a little bit less rehearsed. I do like the rehearsed ones. Those are great too. You can learn a lot from them. But the podcasts where it's just down to earth, you're just showing up as you are, and I don't know, whatever that may look like, those I really like. And that's what I was trying to do within my best capacity. Would I go if I were to start my podcast now, would I show up differently? Absolutely. But I think that this podcast has helped me to, in my own, I know that people hate this term, but healing journey. It's made a huge difference in my own healing journey and recognizing how I show up in the world and with other people. And it's also really taught me a lot about holding space within conversations and connecting with people. Because there's the amount of times I've had people on this podcast who I've never met before or met barely before coming on to this podcast is pretty high. And I like to think that most conversations I've had on here, I can't speak for other people, but most have felt really comfortable. And I feel really proud of that, to be honest with you. I feel really proud of what we've talked about here, what guests have been on here. I think that I did the best I could. So would I learn, like, would I do things differently? Yes. And also can't go back in time and change things. So there you go. I feel for some reason inclined to tell you some things that are bringing me joy. It's not really related to the episode, but maybe it'll be fun for you to hear. Food wise, every now and then I get in this rut of like, I want to eat, but I don't want to put any effort in. or I'm just feeling kind of blah. Sometimes this comes up when I'm feeling really stressed or overwhelmed, or if it's really hot, or if I'm in a difficult place emotionally. I don't know what it is this time. I guess it doesn't really matter why it's happening. But one thing that has been helpful is I found this type of gluten-free wrap that is at honestly it's at Costco in Canada that actually is very good and it doesn't fall apart immediately. Having those, it has like 10 grams of protein in it, so it feels kind of like a strong foundation that I can just put whatever I want in it. And maybe it's not always like the most fancy food I've ever eaten, but it's fairly filling. And then I'll grab like currently we have sugar snap peas that are doing really well, which is awesome because I love them. I think they might be my favorite vegetable. Anyway, I grabbed a handful of those and then I saw someone do this, get like Greek yogurt and then put instant pudding powder in. I love it because if I'm allergic to citrus, which is in weirdly a lot of yogurts, so I have to get plain Greek yogurt, but I like yogurt, but I don't really like to eat it plain. I mean, unless I'm using it like sour cream. One of my stepkids puts vanilla and brown sugar in, which is good. But this pudding mix in is actually really nice. I mean, I eyeball it, and this time, so I had therapy earlier today, so it was a little bit tricky. So I put a little bit of mini chocolate chips in, and it feels like a very fun thing, but to eat, and it's bringing me joy, and also it makes my body feel good. So I'm not here telling you what you have to eat. I'm definitely not on any kind of like, you have to track protein or whatever. Just the one thing I know about myself is that I feel better if I'm actually eating food that does have some protein or nutrients in it, as well as food that brings me joy. I can't just eat a granola bar for breakfast. I've done that for a few days and it's starting to feel not good. So if I think about things that are like, hey, what's going to make me feel good? Or what does my body need right now? And then also add things in that bring me joy is very helpful for me. Otherwise, going outside, I've been trying to walk outside more. It's been very hot here lately, so I haven't done that as much this past week. But I've also been, this is going to sound really out there, but I've been talking to the trees in my yard. Someone told me, I should say I saw it in a video. They weren't telling me specifically, but that one practice they've been doing to connect to nature is talking to the trees and telling trees your grievances. And something about it just felt really, um, I don't know, kind of nice. I've been trying that out and liking it. I think sometimes I'm a verbal processor, or I need to write things down or talk things through sometimes. So being able to some, talk it out in a place that feels non-judgmental is really nice. I mean, I have therapy and I have friends and stuff, but sometimes you just need to, you know, talk to trees. I know that some of you are going to get this, which is why I'm leaving this in. What else to tell you? I don't know. This feels so weird. There is a chance that I will start a new podcast in the future. Who knows? As I said, if you want to stay in touch or hear about those, if you follow me on Instagram, you will probably hear about it. And if you follow my newsletter, the other thing that I did mention a couple weeks ago is that I'm going to write a book. I've said this twice now, and that kind of terrifies me. It's been on my list of things I wanted to do for a really long time. And I wouldn't say I've started it very much, but I've put things down on paper and I feel really pushed in that direction right now. So I think that the thing that I'm stopping this podcast for now anyway. The thing I'm going to be doing instead of that is working on this book. Uh, it feels so vulnerable to tell you that when I don't have very much written and I don't know how it's going to go. I've always wanted to write a book. I wanted to be a writer when I was a kid, writer and an artist and a singer. But it feels really vulnerable to share that with you. So thank you for listening and for holding space for it. I don't know how to end this. I'm not always good at goodbyes. It's not necessarily, well, what is it, Mr. Rogers? It's not goodbye, it's see you later. That can't be for right. Is that right? Anyway, I am grateful for every single one of you, even if it's like 2 of you listening or 10 of you, 20 of you, 40 of you. Episodes are all over the place. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for giving me this space and for trusting me with all of this, all of these wonderful topics. Thank you for supporting the wonderful topics and values and organizations. Please go back and listen to especially the episodes where I'm talking with others, because there is so much to learn about that. I'm guessing this is not the end of my podcasting career. I probably will do more things. Part of me feels a little bit called to do something with somebody else again, maybe on a totally different subject. Who knows? Who knows what will happen? I'm still doing my business. I'm teaching online. I have one-on-one clients. I'm also teaching some classes in Prince Edward County, Ontario, where I'm living. I'm also helping out at a couple studios nearby. So if you are in the area, you might be able to join in. And I think that's all the information you need, really. I'm sorry if this feels abrupt, and I'm sorry for those of you who are going to miss this podcast. I know that there are a couple of you at least, but I know that you all also really support this decision. As I said, it was a hard decision to make, but it's one that felt like the right choice. So until next time, thank you for listening. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful life. Does that feel horrible to say? No, I do hope you have a wonderful life. I also hope you have a wonderful day. Let's say that. I hope you have a wonderful day. Send me a message over on Instagram. Stay in touch. See what comes up next. I'm excited to find out what happens next. Take care.